Well, welcome, Diana, to Live Your Life with Purpose podcast. Super excited to be here. We met, what, maybe 4 years ago?
I think it's five,
Four
five.
or five, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, probably five now.
Hmm.
And so Diana and I met when I was at a place working out that had closed, and we went to a new facility
Hmm.
and, met some incredible people there. And so, going back to just that, I mean, talking about working out and all of that, how long had you been doing CrossFit when we met? Do you,
That was time zero.
oh, really? So you had just started
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah. Basically, I remember, after I had children, I felt like I needed to do different things to work out and maintain the level of fitness that I wanted for myself. And
Mm,
so, um, Mark, my husband, he didn't really have like a workout routine. And I can't remember which one of us, um, we started looking into things, and one
hmm.
of us said, well, what about CrossFit? I think we would kind of like that. And then it just started. We kind of looked for a place that could accommodate our schedules best, and talked to some people, and that's where how we landed there. And then,
Yeah.
that's it.
And so what would you have done prior to CrossFit? I mean, or prior to kids?
I
Were
was a
you
runner
gotcha.
mostly.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always been involved in sports, growing up and everything. I played soccer and basketball and softball. I danced. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
I kind of tried all the
So you were
things, and
always active, right?
always active. And then in high school, it continued. In college, I actually was on a Division I track and field team. I didn't
Hmm.
run anymore at that point. I was just in the field events. So I
Hmm.
did the discus and the weight and the hammer throw. And so after that, when I graduated and I was like in the real world, I just continued running for the most part. I started
Hmm.
doing some longer road races, like half marathons. I did one marathon with my younger sister.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun. But then, the kids came, and I needed to do something that was more efficient. Like I couldn't just go off running for hours. Like there was no
You
time
didn't
for
have that kind of time
that.
anymore. And you
No
know
more
what
time.
I was talking with Aaron from Wingman, and one of the things that he said is, certainly as a kid, we all grow up playing sports, but
Yeah.
what is there for adults other than like beer league stuff that is kind of
Yeah.
out there that's really, it's some athleticism, but it's not
Yeah.
really geared towards fitness.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been a concise way to work out but not spend your entire time like
Mhm.
dedicated to this activity because you got bigger priorities, right?
Yeah, the more priorities. I gotta find time for it all. I needed an efficient way to maintain my fitness. That's like I'm all about efficiency. How can I get the most from my
The
time?
most out of your hours, right? You only have
Yeah,
24 hours in the day.
that's it.
So, I tell people, especially if you're not taking care of yourself, then you leave that to the back, and then you can never find the time to do it. And so you
Mhm.
always have to plan it out and figure out, again, what are you going to do for yourself? When are you going to fit that in? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And go from there. So how has the past year been for you? I mean, when we stopped, I think we both stopped
It's like a
working out
year
right around
ago.
the same time, which has been
Mhm.
so stressful,
Mhm.
and such a break from routine. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, have one of the things that I always looked forward to was waking up, regardless if I wanted to or not, and then going to the gym and then feeling
Mhm.
amazing afterwards. And then when you're
Mhm.
home, you don't have all of that. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, how do I still maintain that routine so that I feel good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really been an interesting year from I'll just, focusing on the working out part alone. When everything happened like a year ago, I felt like this incredible instinct to just hunker down and protect my family and
Mm,
protect my kids from
of
whatever this was happening. And
yeah.
I unfortunately I'm getting better at this, but when things kind of get out of control, the first thing I give up is myself. I'll give up my exercise, my eating, everything to take care of them. And so I actually did, like, it was almost like a reaction, like, my anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
everything. It was a reaction, like, just focus on the kids. They're at home now, trying to do school online. I'm trying to work from home. I can't see past that. Just, and I just stopped. And I knew it wasn't good for me, and I didn't really want to, but I felt like I couldn't continue. Like, that wasn't important at that moment,
Yeah. And you know what's amazing is that, like, that's a great point, because you as an individual who always looked at this and say, okay, I need this for myself. I do this for myself. I want this for
Yeah.
myself, especially in the time during the, kind of COVID first came out,
Hmm.
even already having that habit and that routine broke for you. And
Oh yeah.
so if you can, you imagine if you didn't have that habit and that routine, what that then looks like. And so you wonder why
Yeah.
people this past year have been so stressed, and so, because
Yeah.
one, not only are you dealing with all of these different things like working full time and helping your kids remotely in school, like,
Yeah.
I don't, there's not two of me, I don't know what to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then thinking about taking care of yourself. And so now you understand, like, it's really, really clear how much people have suffered over the past year.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I had a solid routine for over
Solid.
a year. I mean, I was a 5 a.m.er hardcore, and I was in the best shape of my life when the pandemic hit. I was
Yeah.
eating good, I felt great, I was exercising, 4 times a week. And I was on autopilot in that place, and it was great. And then that happened, and yeah, I just kind of let go. And then at some point, because I started to, when the kids' schools closed and they came home, and the three of us, we were home all day together and trying to balance their school online and my work. And I had to find a way to get them moving again too, because
Mm,
all of their extracurriculars, everything just stopped. And so I would have, like, our physical activity time. And no matter how bad they complained, we went outside and we got on bikes or we went on a
good.
walk. And slowly I said, all right, I'm going to start running. And I kind of went back to, like, my comfort of, like, I know
Mm,
I can run. I don't need anything to do that, just myself and sneakers. And
hmm.
the kids would go on their bike, and we have a great neighborhood for that. So I would tell them, all right, you guys go, and mommy's just going to follow you, and whichever way you want to ride your bike. And then they were like, oh, this is cool. We get to decide. And so I started incorporating, like, my exercise again, um with them. And then I didn't feel like bad that I was trying to do something for myself, because I saw it as something they needed too, and we kind of just did it together,
But
and
that's a
so that,
great,
you know
and that right there is a great point, right? Like, these things do not have to be mutually exclusive. You
yeah,
don't have to, focusing on you and your health and your moving, and what's good for your mental, state and your physical state doesn't have to exclude anybody else.
right,
And that's the fun thing about it, is that, we can all go for a walk as a family
yeah,
after dinner, and still have some of that stress relief, some have some of that kind of quiet time. Maybe somebody can listen to headphones, whatever they want to
yeah,
do, but you can do this as a family. And
yeah,
now, not everyone has that ability to be in a neighborhood where they can go around and walk and all of that other stuff. But
yeah.
it's just, maybe you can go to a park or whatever it is, and just find some time to, sometimes bring all of those things together, but still do what you need for yourself.
Yeah. And we also, and you bring up, like, doing things as a family. So CrossFit started Mark and I together. Like, we were in it together. And that was a huge bonding thing for us,
Hmm.
because as parents of young kids, it's like your time together, if you don't try really hard, it goes out the window. And so it was something that we both enjoyed. We both had interest in, we had fun. Sometimes we would work out together.
Yeah.
If we could compete against each other, and there was just, like, a lot of fun with that.
There's a lot
So
of fun things that came from it. Yeah, that you did
yeah,
together, and that made you, it wasn't just like you did CrossFit. It was a couple thing,
yeah, Yeah, and
And for Kathy and
the
I too.
kids got into it. The
Yeah,
kids got into it.
there's nothing more than I enjoy watching than like when your girls would come in or Andrea
Yeah.
would bring her kids in and they would just watch or they would do a burpee or they would do whatever. And it's just like they're mimicking what you're doing. And so the
Yes.
more you pay attention to that, right? Like
Hmm.
the healthy habits and routines that you give yourself,
Yep.
you also then just naturally give them to your kids as well.
Yeah, they watch you like a hawk. And actually, that's when there was a few times during CrossFit workouts that became so real for me. They would go home later and then we had like little kid versions of CrossFit stuff, like a little box for box jump and barbell, like plastic stuff, not even weighted.
Yeah, no,
Um,
all that fun stuff.
and they would go and they would start doing the same workout and they're like, "Mommy, look." And I thought to myself, like, they're trying to do that too. And kind of thinking about, I have two girls, and like being a role model for them and being, a successful female with a career and a family is super important to me. So I realized, like, wow, I'm showing them that that's important too. And they're catching on to that. And that
Hmm.
made me really happy because, as a family, we do try to emphasize like health and fitness and making smart choices for your body and like your health.
Good.
So
I was going to
that was
ask
good.
if that's something that obviously I know you do that for yourself. How do you then, kind of bring that through, for the whole family?
Yeah, so I just by nature of how kind of things fall out in house responsibilities, I do most of like the meal prep and kind of grocery shopping and cooking. I enjoy food. I love eating.
Right?
I love food. And I remember growing up and it was a lot of times like I'm not trying to blame my parents or anything, but like it was kind of like a free for all with snacks and stuff. Like I don't remember really having like set discipline. And I don't
Hmm.
feel like I've really struggled in life with my weight overall, but I do tend to kind of really fluctuate,
Hmm.
especially before CrossFit. And I don't I thought I really want my children to understand food as a fuel, and that the importance of feeding your body properly so that you have good health and that you feel good.
Hmm.
And so they're at the age now where they'll ask me for a snack and I'll say, well, what do you think you should have for a snack? And they'll come up with their own little idea. And we talk about
Hmm.
proteins and carbohydrates and fat. And they see my MyFitnessPal app where I track my macros, and they know, they're like, well, how do you know and why? Especially G, because she's 8.5. She asks about those things and she tries to like come up with snacks or meals that are balanced, and not just all carbohydrate, but she understands like I need something fresh and like a
Yeah.
fruit or a vegetable, and like rounding out her choices. So that, I just try to get them involved. They like being in control and making decisions. So the more I can like
I
do
think that
that.
goes for any kid, right? Like anyone all the way through, like they're trying to impress you. They're trying to, especially all the way through, be this person and do all of this different stuff. And so, yeah, like let them have a choice. It's, but it's like, as long as, it sounds like you do a really great job of helping them kind of navigate those choices, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I
Yeah, they
mean?
need
And
help.
that's, well, of course. I mean, if I had everything that I wanted when I was, 10 through 18, like that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a good thing for me. You know what I mean?
No.
Like
Yeah.
we're always going to test boundaries. As an
Yeah.
adult, we should always test boundaries, but it gets harder and harder to do new things. But as a kid, certainly they're testing boundaries. They don't know where where to stop,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's
Especially Bella with candy. My God, she has such a sweet tooth for sugar, like straight sugar, Sour
oh,
Patch Kids, Skittles, like
I remember as a kid, I loved fluff, like in hot chocolate.
yeah.
and I would just go sometimes and I would grab a spoon and I would dip it in the fluff and then I would eat it. And my
Just go
mother would
at
be
it.
like,
Yep.
that is horrible. She'd tell me I'd get worms in my stomach to stop, like anything to have me just stop eating sugar. But till you realize that power that it has, it's just
Yeah.
like, wow.
Oh, I do
Those,
the same
those
thing. Mark came home
are
yesterday with Cadbury mini eggs. The end of me. Like that is the candy that I cannot walk away from. And I
yeah.
have to be honest, even growing up, I feel like I had a lot of candy and sweets and stuff. And we certainly let, like, I don't want to sound like that parent. We
Yeah.
let the kids, they indulge, and we have hot chocolates and we'll have cake, for birthdays, and they'll have a bowl of
Yeah.
ice cream. And but I try to teach them, like, that can't be your staple.
That can't be every day. You
That's in
can't be,
moderation.
yeah, like it's something, it's a treat.
Yeah,
And
it's a
that's it.
treat. Exactly. And but yeah, with the candies, I still don't have good self-control of that.
No,
You
I
know?
just I can't buy it because if I
That's
do,
Mhm.
then it'll be gone. But I have the control to not buy it, to walk away from it and
I
stuff
can
of
do
that
that as
nature.
well. And then when your husband buys it and brings it home, I felt bad. I always am like, oh God, why did you get that? I don't buy it on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah. There's a reason they're not in the house.
Oh, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And so now are the girls in school? Is it still remote? How is your, how are you guys, doing now, kind of coming into year two?
Yeah. So they have been full-time in person since the last week of August.
Okay.
They do go to a smaller Catholic school in
Yeah.
town, and this school was able to follow all of the guidance in terms of physical spacing and safety. They wear
Yeah.
masks
Yeah.
all day, and they take them off for lunch or snack, but at that time everyone's distanced properly, and it has been such an amazing. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if they weren't home, because they're still young at the age where, I mean,
They
nobody
need you,
wants to sit
right?
in front of a computer
Yeah.
all day anyway. But
Adults don't want to, but never mind kids. It's tough.
no, so for them, especially my younger one, to sit in front of a computer, because we've done that a few times in lieu of snow days.
Mm,
Um, I mean, every few minutes, mommy, I need this, mommy, I need that. And it's reasonable because of the age, and just they're not familiar with navigating the different programs and stuff. I mean, I can't get anything done for work when that's going on. So I don't really know what. I'm happy that that all worked out. And we had been at the school for several years already. So
yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like we just switched over this year.
Yeah.
But
And I know that for you, that had to been a big decision, right? So you're a pharmacist, right, at
mhm,
UConn,
yep.
and congratulations. I know you just made tenure there,
Thank
so
you.
that's a huge accomplishment. And so
Oh
we'll get into
God.
some of that, but like, so certainly for you, this whole experience is something that, I'm sure was just like for the rest of us frightening, but being on the scientific end,
Yeah.
what was that like? I mean, we all, you hear different sides for different people, but if you go by the scientific numbers and listen to different
Yeah.
things, it's understandable why we did some of the things that we did. But
Mhm.
I'm sure sending your kids back was also a tough decision, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember the day last year that I looked at Mark and I said, if the schools don't close by Monday, they are not going anymore and they're
Mm.
staying home. And I don't know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, but I can't send them out there anymore. I felt like it was an unknown, like, war zone. I mean, I had no idea.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about this virus to inform the best way to behave in a safe manner. And
Hmm.
because of my work, I'm a very evidence-based thinker.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the research that our group does, and the type of work that I'm involved with. And as a medical professional, we are driven by the evidence and the science. And
Mm.
I all of a sudden was in a position where I didn't know what the evidence or science, what nobody knew what it was. And so my like decision making mechanism was gone. And so
Mm.
I just felt like they just need to stay with me in this house. I'm just in my four walls here, and we need to wait until we understand more. And so that's how I always approached this year and the choices that we made as a
Mhm,
family and what we
mhm,
thought was best for us. But again, it's really consistent with the work that I'm involved with professionally. So
mhm.
it wasn't and how I'm trained as a medical professional to think and make choices based on the evidence and the data.
Yeah. Well, and first off, thank you for all the work that you do,
Thanks.
and all the work that you do to, teach and educate. Certainly fantastic, and really appreciate all of that. Um, and I think, and I'm interested to understand a little bit more about, some of the stuff that you published, because I think that you did some things with asthma, correct?
Hmm.
And as an asthmatic, somebody that I've had asthma since I was 4, I've had to deal
Yeah.
with all of my life.
Hmm.
Uh, and so what kind of got you thinking about the sciences, kind of pharmacy, teaching, like all of
Yeah.
that? I mean, how did that kind of evolve for you? Was it always something that you had an interest in, or did it develop later?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I just had to actually put this down on paper because of something that I was nominated for at work, and I kind of had to tell my story and just
Mm.
what you asked. So it really honestly goes back to being a little kid. And it wasn't until I was, I had to write this paragraph out recently that I realized that it really went back that far. I mean, I remember being a little girl playing school all the time, and my parents' basement wasn't finished. They had just like the cement foundation walls. And I would just spend hours writing on those walls like it was my chalkboard with chalk, and I had pretend students. And I remember then, like certain moments in my life that I realized I was like teaching, but I probably didn't know it at that time.
Mhm.
My parents immigrated here from Poland.
Mm.
So I am born as first generation American. And um, they didn't really have a good handle on the language. So I remember sitting and using like my school workbooks and spelling books and helping my dad learn how to spell words and like improve. And then like in college, in pharmacy school, I was kind of like the one in our group where people would be like, Di, you can explain this really well. Like, what do I need to know? And I would just say,
Mm.
and they're like, oh, I get it. And I remember now these moments. And when I was in pharmacy school in your last year of the curriculum, you go through different experiential rotations. So hands-on learning, you're out there doing things. And one that I picked was academia because I realized like I really like teaching. Like I think
Mm.
I would like to be a college professor and take my degree in that direction. And after that rotation, I'm like, yep, that's it. And then I did what I had to do. I did some postgraduate training to get more of that experience to be qualified and hired into that position. And then it's like history from there. And, people ask me, about work and if I like it. And honestly, it's like I feel like I live my dream. I
Mm.
feel like this is not work. I love what I do and it's fun. And sure, I have bad days, but
Yeah.
everyone does. But I feel like I landed where I'm meant to be.
And it's an amazing feeling to do things and to be involved in things that gives you energy versus draining your energy, right?
Hmm.
Like, you love what you do from teaching, and regardless of how much stuff comes in front of you,
Yeah.
um, it's hard to get discouraged, because it's like, I love this. It's what
Yeah.
drives you, what gives you
Yes.
energy, and you find time for those things. And when
Mhm.
you're not finding time for those things, everything else just, it takes energy away from you, right? Like it's you start doing things and it's like you're resentful for it because, oh, I have to do this,
Hmm.
versus, oh, I want to do this. Yeah, I'm tired. Everyone's busy. No one's not busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But are you busy doing the things that you want to be doing for the reasons that you want to be doing them, or are you busy doing things that other people want you to be doing? And I
Yeah.
think that, when you take that approach and you have found that passion, that thing that really makes you tick,
Yeah.
because I say this to everyone, we all have something special inside, and it's just
Hmm.
us for up to us to discover, to develop, and then to give that back to people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would never stop teaching, even though I'm pretty heavily involved on the research end too. It's the teaching that brings me joy in my
Mm.
job, and I'd always pick that over any other responsibility um that I have in my work.
Yeah. Now, a couple of years ago, you got nominated for, I don't know the exact thing that you had posted, but maybe you can tell us people a little bit about, what got published for you.
Yeah, so I work in a group of researchers, and we're a team. We're very much a team. So and we do research related to different health outcomes. I'm not really focused on any specific disease state per se, but we were an evidence-based practice center contracted with the Agency of Healthcare Research and Quality, so the federal program. And our group was considered, there's one of many across the country, but we were considered like an independent body that could synthesize research and evidence to come up with kind of like the main conclusions of what is known about a certain topic. So our topics varied based on who needed the work, so
Hmm.
some of the asthma papers you were referring to, those were actually research questions that the National Institute of Health needed to answer to help update guidelines that they support for the management of asthma in this country.
Hmm.
So they were drug related research questions, or a couple of others that were related to other procedures and things. But our group had primarily focused on drug effectiveness and safety for our research work. So I was the lead on that project, and that, I mean, I remember the day. I have these very distinct memories. The day that our directors came in to the office and they're like, "Di, you got it." Like, what are you
Hmm.
talking about? They're like, we won that proposal, like, you got it. And that day changed the rest of my career. That was really the linchpin for all of the work that followed, and the publications that followed, and the awards that followed. That really helped, I think, finalize, my portfolio for my tenure decision and everything, because it was really high level work.
Hmm.
The papers got published in the third highest ranked internal medicine journal in the world. So it's, I mean, I think that was my peak. I don't know, maybe something new will come along and I'll top that, but I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't know that I have it in me to go to do that all again.
But it's great, and certainly congratulations on all of that. But I would imagine that it's always been this kind of like, did you have these kind of higher ideals of what you were trying to push for, what you were looking for from yourself? Then that's kind of, has all of that drove you to then take on these different positions, be able to become the lead in that group, and different things. I mean, these things just don't happen by accident. And so and so I'm just how did you
Yeah.
drive this type of thing for yourself?
I was surrounded by good mentors that believed in me and gave me the opportunity because they believed that I could do it. And it took me a second to believe myself.
Hmm.
And that project was a tremendous amount of professional growth for me. But
Mm.
I looked back at it and I was so proud of our group and of myself for being able to do. I did it. Like I that
Yeah.
at that point then I said to myself, you know what? I believe them now. I can do this. And it kind of just like opened my floodgates and
Hmm.
gave me confidence to continue on. And
Can
it
you
was
now
cool.
just think about, like, that's an amazing place to get to. And can you imagine giving or being able to get to that place earlier in your life? Like, that's one of the things that I always loved. There was a Miley Cyrus song that I tell people about all the time, that I'm not this huge Miley Cyrus fan, but there's a song that says, something to the effect of, my mom always said that I could, so that I did. And,
Yeah.
and that's just such a powerful statement, right?
Mm,
Like, we all have the ability to achieve whatever it is that we want inside of us. And the
yeah.
more support that we get, the more encouragement that we get
Yeah.
to try something, to take this first step, to fail,
Yes. Well, there was
because
a lot of failing.
without doing that, right? But without any of that, then you wouldn't have been able to say, okay, well, that didn't work. Now let me,
Yes.
focus my attention. Failure didn't mean you stopped. Failure just meant that that direction wasn't the right one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I remember seeing, so prior to getting that contract, I can't tell you how many we had submitted and we weren't chosen. And it got to the point where it started becoming tiring because
Mm.
it's like you put all this work and effort into your proposals and they were really fast turnaround times from like the release of the call for the proposal to the deadline. And we were making collaborative groups of experts across the country like within a 3-week time period. That's extremely difficult to do because
Yeah, it
everyone
is.
has their own priorities.
Hmm.
And I just remember it being so tiring and just feeling like talking to my like I'll say my best friend and best coworker, look talking to him and just saying like I don't know how many more of these I have in me if this doesn't hit soon. And we kind
And
of both felt that way. And then but you're right, like you just had to we continued to reflect on, okay, well, what do you think went wrong with this one? Like, why don't you think we got it? What could we improve for the next time? And I remember seeing a quote. I'm a very like spiritual person, so
yeah,
I like quotes, and like I have certain ones written that I'll remind myself of and everything. And there was one that said, if the door doesn't open, it's not your door.
it's not your
and
door.
and after and I saw that right before I submitted this asthma project, and I said, you know what, the right one's going to open when it's my time, when it's my turn, it's going to happen. And it was that next proposal, and I just felt like this is it, this is going to fling me right to where I need to
I
be, and it
love that.
happened.
That just made everything in my body go tingly, because
Oh,
because because that's an amazing thing for people to understand, is that you try, but you're learning all of these different aspects, like, right? I mean, it's not like you submitted all these different papers and you didn't learn anything from it.
right.
Again, you went back and you were just like, okay, well, we didn't get that. What could we have done differently that
Yeah.
maybe would have got that? And so the evolution allows you to know that it's not a matter of when, if, it's just a matter of when, right? Like,
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
going to happen, and I'm going to
Yeah.
make this happen.
Yeah. And it's
But it
really
does get
helped me.
discouraging. Yeah.
It is, but it's helped me. Like, so I'm such a planner. This is like a weakness of mine. It's a strength and a weakness. Like, I would like to have my whole entire life planned
Mm,
right now, and but COVID helped me understand that that's really not always great. And like, I need to be more flexible and really like that whole process, has helped me feel okay with not knowing exactly what's coming next, but kind
mhm.
of knowing that when I know this sounds like cheesy, but when the stars align, like it'll be right,
Yeah.
and things will fall into place. And I know I'm capable, I work hard, and it's going to happen, kind of thing. I've become okay with feeling that.
Well, and that's the allowing things to just go the way that they're intended, but knowing that I do all of the work that allows me to know that, again, these things are coming my way, and it's just
Yeah.
a matter of letting things evolve, letting things develop. Yeah, no, that's super powerful. And I'm right there with you. I think that the world is made up of energy.
Yeah.
And I think that it's up to you to control that energy from, within yourself. And
Hmm.
and again, you look back and it's just like, oh my God, that just happened. Well, it doesn't just happen. You having these
Yeah.
thoughts like this next one is it. Well, you felt that way because you've been doing all of these different things and you just all of a sudden you start to feel much better about like, hey, I think that we really have a shot with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's
and I
good.
also think that even like CrossFit and different physical activities, the more we push ourselves to do things that we don't necessarily want to do in the moment, but will understand the benefit and the payoff maybe 6 months down the road,
Later.
maybe a
Yeah.
year down the road. We don't always know when that payoff is going to come. But it's just like somebody who's trying to lose weight and they get stuck for a couple of weeks and then all of a sudden it goes back. It's
Hmm.
just sometimes you have to let things catch up. And so
Yeah.
you do these things and then you just allow time to be able to catch up to you.
Yeah. That makes a whole lot of sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No, I love it. So what does this year look like for you? I mean, what do you guys, I mean, how as things start to loosen up, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts with how you're going to, I guess, continue to evolve as a role model for the kids, for yourself?
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of come full circle. Like I'm no lot, I went through this phase over the past year, like I explained earlier, when everything happened, I kind of like quit everything and just like hunker down
Mm,
for my family and my kids. And then slowly I started like finding myself again. Um and I have extra confidence now. Luckily, I am vaccinated, and I'm very happy about that. And so it kind of takes some of the anxiety away from for me anyway of like, well, if I try to do this now, is that really a safe choice or not? And
hmm
so I feel like I'm starting to like for myself, I'm starting to pull myself back together. And like at the start of the year, I made a commitment to try to become better at setting personal goals because I'm really good, probably because we have to do these things at work.
mm.
I'm setting like professional goals for ourselves for the year and for like the next 3 to 5 years, but I never did that personally. And I
Most
realized,
people don't. It's
yeah,
amazing how many people, I work with a couple of different people and, they've got their whole weeks planned out. And then you start talking about your personal life and it's just like, well, isn't that more important really than work? And
yeah,
it is. The work is defining for us and it's extremely important. But our personal stuff is more important. Taking
yeah,
care of you is more important than anything else. Taking care of your kids is more important than work, and then work gets in there.
yeah.
And yeah, that's the first thing that we should, kind of focus on.
Yeah, and I like I said before, when things go crazy, the first thing I do, it's like a I don't know, it's like an automatic mechanism I have is like I give up on the things that I would normally do for myself. I feel like partially guilt, like I can't do that. I don't have the time for that. This needs me more. I'll
Hmm
give up what I did for me.
hmm
And I've reflected a lot on that at the start of the year because I felt like ready to get myself back to where I was happy, just like mentally, physically, everything.
Yeah.
And I started, I mean, I have my little planner thing here. And like the first things, like my first goals were literally like eat enough and drink enough water in your day,
Yeah.
and then it became okay, track your macros again and try to hit your macros most days of the week. And then it became okay, now we're going to try to do 3 workouts a week. And like slowly every week I saw that I could like build, and I realized this is kind of like what I do for work. Why the hell haven't I ever done this for myself? And now it's like every Sunday I look forward to sitting down and I look at my next week. I'm like a weekly thinker.
Yeah.
Like I can't
No,
do day-to-day planning.
I
It's like a
tell people
week.
to sit down, plan for like an hour on the weekend and
Yeah.
say, what's a successful week look like for you? And just plan it
Yes.
out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's
And it's
wonderful.
like it makes you intentional with your time. It makes me more intentional with my time. Like I know, what my work things are and what my personal things are. And it's been really good. It's
it
really helped me
allows
get
it
back on track.
allows you to, still have all of the personal stuff, but you eliminate a lot of distraction that comes into your world. We all have
Yeah.
distraction that comes into our world,
Yeah.
and it allows you to be cognizant of, well, I want this versus that, and so
Yeah.
I'd rather make this choice than that choice.
Absolutely.
And
And I've always been really bad at work-life balance.
yeah,
After having kids, it's gotten a lot better, and I'm not new at my job anymore. So I have a good handle on my time management at this point, but my work-life balance used to be a mess, and
mm,
I would just constantly work, and I was very devoted to it. And then I've gotten better, and then COVID happened, and now all of a sudden work is in home,
mm,
and I lost my balance,
balance.
because my computer is always here, my laptop is always here. Oh, let me go just take care of that for a second. And I started pulling time away from my kids or my personal things or my exercise, because I knew I could just quickly take care of that. And having this like focused planning makes me put in the work things, but then it's like I feel like I can make a more clear boundary of work ends here, and
Yeah.
then my other life begins, and I'm much better with that. I needed that boundary. I don't know. It took writing it on paper.
It's so powerful, because then not only do you have that, but then at the end of the week, you get to reflect on, I wanted to do all of this.
Hmm.
This is what I wrote down that I was going to do. How did I do?
Yeah.
Because if you just keep all of these things in your head, the reality is that your thought of how well you did versus the actuality of how well you did are going to
Yeah.
be two different things. And so having things down on paper allows you to be just a little bit more realistic with yourself about
Hmm.
where things went. And again, you're not turning this in. This
No.
is this is just for
Yeah, please
you.
don't grade my planner. No one needs to see that.
But it is just for you. This is just for you. And if
Yeah.
you don't do something, it's not like anything's going to happen. It's just I didn't do it this week. But
Right.
if I wanted to, then how do I make that happen next week?
Right. And like for the first time, I'm looking at my page now. I wrote like my game changer goal. Like, what is it? And on January 8th, I wrote fitness and like all the things that I needed to do to achieve that. And I've checked them like all off, but it was really important for me to like itemize, use my app for calories, eat clean meal plan, lift weights again, hit my macros, drink less wine is on there, sleep enough.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm like, wow, I did it. And for the first time in my life, I have like very long-term personal goals, like my 1 year or 3 year goals. And
Hmm.
I nailed down like milestones in the future that Mark and I have, whether it's G needs braces soon or some sort of vacation that we'd
Yeah.
love to go on. It's like you materialize it and it's like they're written on paper, and now you like just have to get there
Now you can plan it out. Okay, if
and
this
plan
is
it
what we
out.
want, how do we put actionable steps in place in order to be able to make that
Yes.
happen?
Yeah.
And the more that we keep in front of us, the more that we're able to handle. And
Yep.
but the less that we keep in front of us, the more that we think about it, we keep it on our head, and we're always busy because we're always tired because we're always thinking about something that we're always forgetting. It's the
Yeah.
reality. But when you
Yep.
write these things down, you can take all of the pressure off of your head because you put things down on paper, you give yourself a game plan, and then you just
Hmm.
need to follow it. And
Yeah.
then that's the beauty of it. But you can,
It's crazy. Like I do this for work all the time. It's like developing your own personal strategic plan.
yeah.
You
But the
know?
more powerful thing about that is that when you hit these goals, you realize, and when you hit these different milestones, you realize that you were the person that brought you to these places.
Yeah.
Now, there's probably a lot of
Yes.
different people that helped you along the way, but you were the one who brought you there, and you're the
Yep.
only one that can bring you there. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't, I can't if you have an idea of what you want for your future, I can't drag you along to make that happen. Like, you have to
No.
do that.
Yeah, one of the best examples, before we started this, I was telling you we have some renovation happening in the house. And I mean, when we bought our home, it was a great shell, but it needed update. I mean, it was just older. It was not to our taste in any
Hmm.
room, so we've slowly over the years have like gone through things. And finally it was time for, the master bathroom to be next. And it was just like the amount of money that we had to save to get that done. I'm like, this is never going to happen. And then
Hmm.
it was actually like a year ago where I started using this other app for budgeting and stuff that just it worked for me. And I'm like, oh my God, we're finally gonna get there because I can this is gonna work for us.
Yeah,
And it did. And we look back and I'm like, we did that. Like that was us. And I'm not the best at finance. Like I never
sure.
got into that stuff. And I still think in high school they should have like mandatory classes like that. Like,
Like, how to
what is
live
a
your life.
mortgage? How to live your life? How to be fiscally responsible, right?
Yeah,
But you're right. Like, and then the confidence that comes with the fact that we achieved that, it was us, like you're saying. It wasn't anybody else giving me money. It was our hard earned money.
we wanted
And
this
we
for
can do it
ourselves,
again.
so we figured out a way to save money each and every month in order to
Yeah.
make that happen. If you
Yeah.
didn't do that, that renovation doesn't take place.
Right. That's the consequence. It's like with my kids. It's all right. All right. You have a choice. If you want this, this is what needs to happen. Otherwise, you're not going to have that. And that's the natural consequence. you know.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so, I appreciate all of your time. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk just a little bit about, work stuff, and
Mhm.
you've achieved some amazing things.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a passion for you.
Yeah.
But what else is next? Like, what are you kind of are there anything on the long-term things that you're excited about, or that you're working on that you're excited about?
It's been a weird year because of COVID. It was difficult to like plan or to really make forward progress in a lot of ways
Yeah,
with more
yeah.
long-term goals. We kind of, at UConn we went remote, and this past fall semester is like a heavy teaching period for me. And
Hmm.
the university allowed each faculty person to make a decision as to how they would like to run their course, whether they're going to try to do it in person, fully remote. And of course, some, within the school, we had discussions about that too, because there's
Hmm.
some practical classes that you cannot do online. Like it just doesn't work. Um, but, so we really, like all of my attention and effort was put into adapting my course material to deliver in a completely online way.
And I
And
would imagine a lot of people were like that. How was that whole experience for you
it
and for
was
students?
super challenging. I never worked harder in my life at my teaching than that, because everything just took longer.
Hmm.
Like for me to even explain concepts or to do an exercise, like everything just took more time because I couldn't just show up in class and talk from my head, which I can do, but now we're in an online environment, so me just showing slides and talking, that's really boring. They're going to fall asleep or not pay attention, so I have to
Yeah, the
find more ways
engagement.
to engage, and like everything just took longer. So but I missed being with them so much. Like I remember the first day of my class crying during my orientation because I was like, I just really wish I was with you guys. But we're gonna do, I'm gonna give you my best. I expect your best, and we're gonna do this.
Hmm.
And it actually made me a better teacher though, because it
Hmm.
pushed me to do things differently. I had to try different things in order to achieve the level of success that I like to see in my teaching and my class.
Hmm.
I tried different things, and honestly, a lot of it was well received and so successful from
Mm.
even the students' point of view that I'm going to continue doing these things, even if we're fully in person in the fall. And so it made me overall better, I think.
That's a great way to kind of take this experience in this negative capacity, right? Because COVID's been this negative experience for
Mhm.
everyone and impacted people in tremendous, tremendous ways.
Yeah.
But to be able to pull something out of that positively for yourself that
Yeah.
says, because of this, I'm better at that.
Yes.
And that's huge. That's growth. That is always looking at like we all, and I had posted something that it all rings true because if we can always push new boundaries, then we're
Yeah.
always capable of achieving more, right? Like,
Yes.
and that's the fun thing about just being human is that we can always push new boundaries. We can always try something new. We can always
Mhm.
expand who we are.
Oh yeah,
And so don't
totally.
stop.
No, and that happened, as a pharmacist, I'm actually certified to vaccinate people. And in my role, I've never really found myself in a place to actually do that in the job that I have. And so I've been certified for many years and I've never physically vaccinated anyone. And when COVID-19, when the vaccinations became real, I said to myself, like, this is it. I need to help. I want to be a helper. I'm going and I'm vaccinating and I'm going to find a
Mm.
way to do it. And it was just something that became so, it made me feel like more purpose and that I was helping. And I did. I've worked in the vaccination clinic a few times and vaccinated patients and prepared, the doses and everything. And but COVID made me do that, and so it was like another opportunity to push myself out there. And I was so scared. I was so nervous,
But
to do that.
and now just in that first step for anything is always terrifying,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But then once you were past that first step, how was it?
It was like clockwork. And the patients, oh my God, everyone, they thanked you up and down. Like, thank you for giving me that
Mm,
vaccine and thank you for being here. And working in those clinics is extremely tiring. I mean, those days where I was there, we had somewhere between 700 and 900 appointments. And it is just fast, one after another. And so that just becomes tiring.
hmm.
But to see how happy everyone was to be there. And I was there at a time where it was primarily like older individuals were eligible, and it was a moment for them. They
Hmm.
came there dressed their best and they were so proud to be getting vaccinated, and that just made me so happy that I could do that for them.
And imagine if you hadn't overcome that fear and, stood was just like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
You would never have been able to give that to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. Like what a great experience to really to give for yourself.
Yeah, I would have definitely been disappointed in myself if I didn't push, because I haven't felt like a push like that in my career in a little while.
Mhm.
So it's good, to make yourself feel like,
It's good to be
do I still
uncomfortable.
have this?
Being uncomfortable, well, that's it. Like being uncomfortable just means that like something new is happening. And
Yep.
so being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. It just
Yeah.
it's just it's an opportunity to take a pause. And that's
Yeah,
it.
for
So
sure.
well, listen, I think that that's an amazing place to end this. I want to thank you for all of the work that you do. You're a huge role model, even at the gym, for others. You're always somebody that people look up to and aspire to. So, thank you for pushing yourself and doing the things that you do and being vocal and expressive about your opinion, as well as just being this educator out there doing great work and you know, bringing our future students, just giving them that same opportunity. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. It was fun. My first podcast in life. So there's a new thing too.
It's all about new things, right, Diana?
New things.
Excellent. Well, again, thanks so much, and we'll
Okay.
talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
All right.